There it goes. Hello, how is everybody today? Welcome to, this is why you don't do it live. Welcome to the latest edition of my YouTube channel. I don't know what I'm going to say. This is what happens when you don't have a script and you go live. These are the risks you take. And, you know, what can I say? I'm a daredevil. All right. So in a previous live broadcast, I briefly went over these 3 units that were sent to me for review. And just to recap, there are numerous other YouTube creators that were also sent these products. And I found at least one of them who didn't understand what these are for. And as a result, he rated it poorly. So this just goes to show that you can't always trust YouTube reviews or reviews in general if the person that's reviewing the product doesn't really understand the way the product's intended to be used, and then they go and use it in a way it wasn't intended to be used, and it performs poorly, and then they rate it poorly. So this is my attempt at trying to remedy that. And I've never used these products before. They've been sitting in a box with the exception of me removing them to just physically hold them and show them. I've never plugged any of them in. Well, this is a remote control. You don't plug it in. But you understand what I'm saying. I've never used these products hands-on, but I have the idea, the concept of what the manufacturer had in mind when they made these. Now these are full working computers. This one and this one are pretty much the same except for the dimensions and the capacities of, you know, this one can be, I don't know, I think you can add more stuff to this one, I guess. More expandable is what I want to say. I was going to get there. And one of the things I try and do on my YouTube channel is do what other people don't do, and that is a live review. Let's face it, when somebody's reviewing a product, they have time off camera to familiarize themselves with the product, to get over their errors, mistakes, misunderstandings, talk to the company or the PR marketing firm, and have their questions answered and things, and so they then end up just making a commercial for the company, essentially. So what I want to do is give you sort of a first impression, real look at what normal people do when they buy a product, and that is you get sort of this surface review, this idea, this concept of what the product is and what it costs and more or less what you can expect from it. But how do you get from acquiring the product to then utilizing the product? That's the part many YouTube creators that do reviews don't cover that quite often, or if they do cover it, it's very well rehearsed so that everything goes off without a hitch. So I don't want to do that. I want to make this real. So let's just pretend we saw some video on these things and a reviewer said this would be a great HTPC or a home theater PC. That's what these are intended to do, apart from maybe some light office work or very light internet usage, like maybe your grandparents or somebody might just want to go to yahoo.com or something, or check their email or play solitaire. These are going to do that just fine. These are CherryTrail Atom processors in here, and they're not rocket ships. They're not intended to be rocket ships. They're very limited as far as any sort of upgradability. In fact, I don't think you can upgrade this one at all, if I'm not mistaken, apart from adding like a memory card, like an SDHC memory card for more storage. They're not intended to be servers. They're not intended to be file storage. They are not intended for a lot of things. Now, they can be used for numerous other things besides an HTPC. For example, I need to upload videos like this to YouTube, ones that I pre-record. This is obviously live, so I have don't have to worry about editing and uploading it later. But when you're uploading it, more or less ties that computer up. Well, it's up. Well, that's not necessarily true. I could still use the computer for doing other tasks as long as they're not internet related. Anything internet related is going to be significantly slower. It's going to slow my uptime down, my upload time. So having a dedicated upload server like this would be beneficial to me. Using this for other tasks that are not time sensitive, using it to be a BitTorrent server for legally transferring files, you know, or illegally. I'm just not going to condone that, but it'll certainly do it. It doesn't make a difference to the units. Data is data. These are really intended, as far as I'm concerned, as an HTPC. It's too bad they're not really marketed that way. You know, they've got little logos on the box that shows an envelope, right, for email. It's got video, which implies HTPC. It's got a controller, which implies gaming. That needs to go. It should show maybe a deck of cards or something like that. That'd be more accurate for gaming. It's got this icon here, which means to explore, which would be browsing the web, of course. And then this would be chat. So maybe if you wanted to do Skype or physically chat with somebody, these probably would do okay on Skype. I'm not exactly sure on that with regards to what the video quality would be. So I'm not going to even test that because I want to focus primarily on what I believe they're best for, and that would be a computer you would have hooked up to a television so that you can stream media, or even YouTube. You could be watching this on your big screen TV with a unit like this or this. Now, because these two units are very similar other than the footprint, let's just take this one and move it out of the way. Because whatever happens with this one is essentially going to be the same with this one. This one's bigger, heavier, it's got twice the memory, twice the RAM rather, and it's going to obviously work a bit faster. Now, these were shipped to me a couple of months ago prior to the Windows 10 update coming out, the Creators Update back in April. So I know these are going to need a Windows 10 update. Let's go from taking it out of the box to hooking it up. And what you'll find in the box, let me just check in the chat here, if everybody's hearing me okay. And what I'm going to do is, I guess somebody's complaining about some behavior in the chat, so I've gone ahead and made that person a moderator, and hopefully they'll go ahead and take care of that. And if that moderator is being abusive, let me know. I can't do two things at the same time, and we definitely oh, you know what? I know this person. I'll make them a moderator. Here we go. Now we got two moderators. Okay, so now hopefully you guys will do me a favor and not be power-hungry moderators in the chat. Those of you watching live obviously can see the chat there to the right of the video. But I like the idea of watching a lot of YouTube videos on television. I like to just sit down in my living room because, quite frankly, a lot of the stuff on YouTube is so much better than what's on TV, regular cable TV. And I haven't watched cable TV in a long time, and I was watching it and commercials came on. So while the commercial comes on, I start flipping through the channels to find something else to watch other than the commercials. And it's all commercials. Like, they've all timed themselves to play their commercials at the same time. I like YouTube where, look, I make my money from the ads just like anybody else. If you click the skip ad button, I don't get my quarter of a penny. So I like the idea that you can skip the ad, and that sometimes after a certain number of videos, YouTube is going to force an ad on you regardless if you like it or not. So eventually it comes around. But that's still, 15 or 30-second ad on YouTube is still much more tolerable than the stuff they're airing on commercial TV. You're just getting yelled at and being told all this stuff you need to have. And I guess it's been such a long time since I actually sat down and watched live TV. I got really pissed off, just really offended that I'm being treated like an idiot. And I guess I'm a little spoiled with the internet now because I watch so much stuff through the internet and through streaming that it's been forever since I've seen a commercial. Beyond, what we're seeing here on YouTube, which again, very minor little things. And again, most of them have the option to skip the ad. That being said, when you skip the ad, I don't get paid, but that's all right. I'm not making that much anyway. But if you want to support the channel or other channels, don't skip the ads for those channels. Unlike cable TV, I'm paying $80 a month for basic cable. I don't know why. And on top of that $80, I'm also being fed ads. So it should be one way or the other. Give me the ads and give me the cable for free, or I pay for the cable and get rid of the ads. So at least with YouTube Red, if you pay for YouTube Red, you get rid of all the ads because you've more or less paid for them to go away. It's like going to the movies now. You pay $10 for a ticket to the movie theater and they show commercials before your movie. Well, if you're going to do that, let me see the movie for free. So anyway, let's get this out of the box. Let's see what we got in here. We've got basically a coaster instruction manual. They've got technical support headquartered in the USA with actual humans that answer the phone with a guaranteed prompt response to all inquiries. That's what it says. I haven't tried it. And they've got a discount code for a product called IP Vanish for I don't know what it does. I thought it's a VPN. It's a virtual private network. So they give you a discount code for that, I guess, if you want to spend more money. Let's get to the product. So this is the PC. So the specs on this little thing in my hand here is that it is... Well, this has 4 gig of DDR3L RAM and 32 gig of solid-state storage. It comes with Windows 10 Home, and it's an Intel CherryTrail Z3735F quad-core 1.44 gigahertz up to 1.84 gigahertz Atom processor, essentially. It's a CherryTrail. So, by today's standards, it's certainly, as I mentioned, no rocket ship. But for doing these kind of tasks, you don't need to have a rocket ship. It would just, you know, the faster your computer is, the hotter it gets, the more it costs to run on electricity, the more fans it needs for cooling. Fans add noise. Fans also add a point of failure where, especially here in Arizona, it's very dusty. The fans to get dust into the bearings, and there's your first service call. So with this, it should be basically maintenance-free. I can't imagine anything you need to do to maintain this. There's a Kensington lock here on the back, an Ethernet port, and the power jack is here on the back. Here on the side, we've got what appears to be a USB 2 as well as a USB 3, and this other one looks like a micro USB. I'm not sure on that one. There's a power button right here, and then you'll see there's a single HDMI port. And this is where it's going to plug into your TV. But it does, you know, it's got a little weight to it. Oh, the other side here, behind the antenna, there's a little micro SD card that I mentioned earlier for expanding your storage. And anyway, what'll happen if you plug this in your TV, it may be sticking out too far and hit the wall, or you may be worried about the weight. That would be my concern. The weight of this on that little port in the back of the TV, because this is a lot cheaper than the television will be. And so what they do is they include this little cable here that is just basically an extension cable, and this enables you to let the unit hang or sit somewhere where you can, well, obviously you wouldn't want it to hang, you'd have the pressure of it on your back of your television. But you can just plug this in like so, right? And now we can plug that in. It's got a little protective cover. We can plug that in and just set this down somewhere. And now we've got an HTPC just that easily. And of course, we do have to give it power. Oh, that's what I see. Okay. So what I thought was another type of USB, that's our power right there. That's where power is going to go. And that means this back port that I thought was power, that's actually a headphone jack. I can't imagine why anybody would want that. But I suppose if you're watching TV, streaming something, and you want to wear headphones and your TV doesn't have the option for headphones, you could pull it right through the PC. So let's get this wire tie off of here. Let's see what this thing does. Now remember, I have never ever turned this on before. And what the company sent me is a used product. Because I'm a reviewer, they probably send the same unit to other reviewers, and then the reviewers send it back, and then they format it and reinstall the OS and throw it back in the box. And you see it's got these stickers that say, if seal is broken, product is used. And these all arrived with the seal broken, but when a company is sending you product for free, that's standard practice. Now, normally I have my monitor out here. When I'm going live like this, I've got the monitor here to my right, and I can keep an eye on what's going on in the chat room. And when I disconnect it, then I'm sort of blind, like if my sound goes out or something happens, I don't get any notification. I don't get any sort of response, because without the monitor, I have no idea what's going on the live stream. And because this is intended to be used with a television, why not just hook it up to a television? So that's my plan today. I hope this works. Here is a television. Is it big enough? Can you see it? Can you see me? Let's see if we can get that moved over a little bit. Okay. Let me get this plugged in. And let's turn it on, which is this button right here. I have to say, I am not a fan of Vizio televisions. This was just a cheap 3D TV to watch 3D movies on, and I'm glad I didn't spend a lot of money on a 3D TV, given that all the manufacturers have stopped making 3D TVs now. When I buy TVs, I look at Samsung or LG. That's the only ones I'm interested in. The remote control on this is terrible. The response time when you push a button for it to do anything, to react, is horrible. Their Vizios are very inexpensive TVs, and there's a reason for that. So if you're not a snob like I am with regards to TV, you'd probably be happy with it. But for me, I'd rather spend a few more dollars and get something that's just more responsive, has a better feeling remote control. Anyway, this is not a review of Vizio, right? This is a review for the Azulle. This is called the Access Plus. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug it into a HDMI port right here on the side, just like that. And then let's turn it around this way so I can have the, no, that's not going to work. I got to go this way so I can have the power cable, have enough length on it here to plug it in. Now the question is going to be, how am I going to use a keyboard and mouse on this? I can plug in a wireless keyboard and mouse, or wired for that matter, into the USB ports. Or I can use this Azulle Lynk multifunction remote control. So let's just review two products at the same time. They seem to go together. Before I get this hooked up though, let's make sure we have power and everything. I have to come around, and I can't really see what's going on here. The unit does not look on. Let's see, power. Okay, so my power light just came on down here. I've got my Vizio symbol. And let's turn this unit on. There's a power button. Where is it? Right back here. You see I've got a red light on here right now. I don't know how well you can see that red light. Very tiny red light right there. And I'm going to hit the power button. I've held the power button in, the light has turned blue. Again, I don't know how well the camera's going to pick that up, but there's a little blue light right there. And you'll see it says Azulle here. Let's cut the lights, maybe you guys can see this a little better. Usually I need it really bright in here. And I'm getting some really bad reflection off the back window, so let's see if we can close. Give me just a minute. This is live, so let me close this. First time I'm having a problem with too much light. But hey, first time's for everything. There we go. That should be better. Now you can see it's been loading this whole time ever since it said Azulle. You'll see the Windows 10 little circular I'm busy thing going on. And you'll see it's coming up with the first boot here. wanting to get us started. And I can't click anything because I don't have any mouse or anything plugged in. So let's do that now. This remote control looks really cool. I can't wait to try it. It looks like a normal remote here on the front where you've got your sort of mouse area here and mouse button, power button, and then on the back, that's where the magic happens right there. That is the keyboard. And I would just love to have a tiny keyboard for an HTPC. What's the point in hooking up an HTPC in your living room or in your bedroom if you still have to control it with a keyboard and mouse, which is not exactly the easiest thing to do while you're sitting on the couch or laying in bed. Now the remote control here appears to already have batteries in it. I push this button and it's got a button for lights and it is lit up. And I don't know, this has got to be Bluetooth, I imagine, unless there's a USB. Oh, you know what? There's a USB. So I'm going to have to plug this little USB stick in. Everything's got to be wrapped in plastic. Let's go ahead and plug this in right over here. I don't need to use the USB 3.0 because that would be a waste. All right. Ignore my mess. Now let's see. I've never used this before. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I don't want to stand in the way. How about if I stand over here? If I hit the Windows button, is anything? Am I getting anything? Bueller. Ah, here we go. Okay. So now I'm just going up and down on the remote. I'm going to go to English, United States. Hit the enter button here is like the left mouse click. So I want English, United States. How come I can't click next? What's going on? How about a right click? Nope. You know, I'm okay with that. That's the selection I want, but for some reason, my left mouse click isn't working too well. Let's see if I can. This is what a lot of people do, right? They'll get a product home, rather than read the directions, they'll just be like, look, this should be pretty straightforward. It's a remote control. I've used remote controls before, and I expect it to work a certain way. And it's allowing me to go up and down without a problem here. But it's not allowing me. What I want to do is I want to be able to hit next. And I can't quite figure out how to get there. Mouse on. How about that? Oh, that's interesting. How did that happen? So I see the mouse now. Ah, now it's like a gyroscope. When I hit the mouse on button, I can move this around, this remote. I don't know how well you can see it, but the mouse is matching the movement like a gyroscope. So I'll go to next right down here. This is a little funky to use. Let's go to next. Come on. It's tough to hold it steady. All right. Let's go back up. English, United States. English, yeah. All that looks good. I'm actually in Arizona, so we can change the... Oh, this is a challenge. This is a challenge. I can see why there's a button to turn this on and off. This is not easy. Let's go. Come on. Arizona. This is going to take some practice. Next. Next. There we go. End user license agreement, whatever. Fine, accept. So all the Wi-Fi networks come up. I even see my 5G networks up here. Let's go to the guest network. Let's do that. And I got to put in the guest password. That's where I can flip the remote over. And let's see. Whoops. It's still laid out in the same format as you'd expect it to for any keyboard. And I can't see what I'm typing in the, I don't know. There's a shift button. There's a function. So the function keys F1 through F12 are up here above QWERTY, etc. I want numbers though, so where do I find the numbers at? Special symbols like you'd normally find over the numbers or above the letters. I don't know where the numbers are. They've got to be here somewhere. No idea. There's a button that says SYM, S-Y-M, and I'm guessing that's for symbols. And then there's a Windows key, a control button, a shift button, an alt button, everything you would expect. But I don't see like a numeric keypad at all. And I need that right now. Well, here we can bring up a... Well, that's not going to work. There's a little... There should be an on-screen keyboard. No, that's not working. Well, we'll go back around this way, and let's do this one more time. Let's go back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Now, keypad. Come on. It's interesting. There's a print screen button. There's colon and semicolon, arrows up and down, left and right. This is where reviews start getting real. Gosh, I wish I had a keyboard right now. This button is for an on-screen keyboard, but I think you've got to be in Windows for this to work because, let's see, if we turn the mouse off and hit the on-screen keyboard. Yeah, for some reason, when I hit the on-screen keyboard button, it's submitting my password. And I don't want it to submit it. I'm trying to get to the numeric buttons. Let me try this one more time. I don't know. Let's hit the symbol button and see if that does anything. And now let's hit enter. Let's see if that's going to work. Because I'm getting asterisks and I've never used this before, I don't know what I'm typing in there. I have no idea. Clearly that wasn't it because it didn't take it. I'm just trying to connect to my Wi-Fi at this point, and it don't like it. I'll try it one more time. It seems like that should be the way that it works. I just don't. So when you hit the symbol button, nothing lights up on the remote to tell me if the symbol is activated or deactivated. And because I'm getting asterisks when I type, I have no idea what I'm typing. Well, I suppose I can turn the little eyeball on. So let me put mouse mode back on. This little eyeball here will let you see the password, but I don't want you guys to see it, so I'm going to stand right in front of it. You know, you really have to hold this thing steady. Let's see if that works any better. Nope, that did not do it. So let me go back. There's got to be a way to get those numbers. It's not going to be caps lock. It's not going to be control. Maybe you've got to hold the symbol button and the button you want to hit at the same time. Let's see if that works. Kind of like using a shift key. Yeah, that looks like it. Now I can hit next, if I can guide this over. Come on. Now it should be verifying connecting me to my guest network, and it did, finally. So this little symbol button that's here on the remote, if you hold that down, then these function key buttons that also have numbers after them, instead of F10 here, it says actually F0. So that's telling you it'll function either as the numbers 1 through 0, or the, which should be 0 through 9, or as the function keys. I'm not sure how you would make it work as function keys. I don't have much call to ever use function keys, so I'm not worried about that. Let's use express settings so we can get through this. And hopefully you guys can still see everything okay. Let me step around and see what's going on in the chat. See how everybody's doing today. What do we got going on in the chat? I want to try and game with that remote. Yeah, that would probably be a challenge. Okay. All right, something else came up on the screen. Let's see what we got going on here. Here it wants you to make an account to sign into Windows 10. You do not have to do this. Way down here, in tiny print, it says skip this step. A lot of people just move too quickly through their installs and don't really read everything on the screen. This is done intentionally. Microsoft marketing understands psychology and people's impatience. They take advantage of that. So if you don't want to create an account, all you have to do is hit skip this step right down here. If I can get the mouse to... There we go. Come on. All right. Now I've got to give it a name, so let's just put in, let's see, C-A-R-E-Y. Perfect. Password I'm going to skip. We're just going to go right to next. So bring the mouse over to next. There we go. That should finalize the, oh, Cortana. Does this have a microphone in it? Yeah, this does have a microphone in it. Let's go ahead and turn Cortana on. Why not? I mean, this computer isn't that powerful. So the last thing I really need to do is bog it down with Cortana, but why not? I'm a Halo fan. I have Cortana. Finally, we're getting to a point now where Windows is getting through its first boot up. Like I mentioned earlier, this is an older copy of Windows. This is the previous version of Windows 10 before the Creators Update. It's going to need the Creators Update. It's interesting to me that the remote has batteries in it, and batteries were included. I think that's not normal. I think because this is a review unit, I think it was repackaged and they left the batteries in it. I could be mistaken. But keep in mind that this computer basically costs slightly more than if you were to buy Windows 10 Home. In a retail package, it's about $119 just for Windows 10 Home. And this, I believe, sells for about the same price, $110, $115. And you're getting a whole computer with Windows 10 Home. And then on top of that, the remote control, which I think is another $30 or something. It's not very expensive. And the whole investment's under $200, well under $200. And like I say, if you want something more expandable, essentially you've got the same thing here with this unit, just in more of a Nook style case. It's surprisingly heavy too, which usually is a good sign as far as quality goes. Now, this is not intended for you to play GTA 5. This is not intended for you really to even do anything on Steam. And while you probably could play a couple of games that are pretty light on resources, it's not what it's for. Now, there's lots of other things it can be used for besides that kind of gaming. And I mentioned a few things already as examples. But using it as an HTPC, that is just to me the penultimate use of exactly why somebody would purchase a unit like this. And the idea that you can just kind of tuck that back, you don't have to see any cables or wires. We can go wireless or wired if you want to go wired. We've got our Windows 10 screen up here. And let's see if I can bring up let's bring up this video live on YouTube. That should mess with it. And my internet connection. So here we go with good old Microsoft Edge. Obviously YouTube works better with Chrome because Google makes Chrome, Google owns YouTube, and wouldn't you know, it's just some weird coincidence that YouTube just seems to run better with Chrome. But just to speed things along here, I'm just going to run it right out of the box just as it is. Let's see if I can... I don't really use the voice commands. I don't know what's going to happen if I try and talk to it. YouTube. No? No. Whatever that's doing, it's not what I want it to do. It's like bringing up a... Check. Yeah. It's bringing up like one of the function keys. Let's go close that. Thank you. Let's go up here and let's go to YouTube. .com. And I think it's / I don't usually go to my own. Oop, that's not what I wanted. Okay, so I thought the shift button was what I had to hit to get the slash, but it's actually the symbol button. And then I think it's LIVE / I'm going to be slow with this because I've never used it before. So you're going to be the same way when you have something new, I promise you. You're going to be sort of like slow at first, and the more you use it, the faster you're going to get, like anything else. So bear with me. Let's see if we can bring up YouTube here. Well, did not bring up. Did my mouse turn off? There it goes. There's some weird, sometimes the mouse is working and sometimes it isn't. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Other than maybe the computer's just really stressed out loading everything. Maybe I've got the link backwards. Let's just do a search for me. How about that? See if that'll get me there. Right there. Come on, get there. Get up there. That is so weird. Well, last time I used a gyro mouse was, God, it had to be the late 90s, and it was awkward then. Here we go. Here's us live right now. Let's bring this up. Let's go full screen. A gyro mouse was, God, it had to be the late 90s, and it was awkward then. Here we go. Here's us live right now. Trying to go full screen here. Come on. Something's happening. Let's bring this up. Let's go full screen. Come on. A gyro mouse was, God, it had to be the late 90s, and it was awkward then. Here we go. Hey, Carrie, how are you? Live right now. Trying to go full screen here. Now I have to sit here and wait until whatever the delay is between something's happening. The live stream and then it feeding it back to me. There's this. Come on. That's quite a delay. It looks like it's about 30 seconds behind. Hey, Carrie, how are you? There you go. So for those of you who've timed it, that's our delay.
Sit here and wait.
So now we're just in sort of this sort of inception mode here. But this is great, as you can see, to... Okay, the audio's... Let's see if we can mute the audio here. Is there a mute button?
It looks like it's about 30 seconds behind.
Well, I suppose I can just turn the TV volume down.
Hey, Carrie, how are you?
There you go. So for those of you who... Okay. Now, that to me is the best use for a computer like this. When you can get a multimedia PC with the remote, I mean, really, because again, what good is a multimedia PC if you've got to sit with a... Even the portable keyboards that Logitech makes with a touchpad are still about this big. This feels and acts like a remote. And I like that it's got the little light on it so you can see at night. It doesn't appear to be lighting up the keyboard, though. And then I would be kind of curious how it would play my videos that I render out, just locally streaming through my network. How many of me are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of me on there. This is kind of the fun stuff you can do on a live stream that doesn't really have the same effect in an edited video. Now, beyond this, the computer has a lot of other uses, but just this in and of itself, I wouldn't even need to pay for cable. I wouldn't need to buy an Amazon Fire Stick or a Chromecast. I can just download what I need. I can put QWERTY on here. I can do whatever I want. I can download my own media files and stream them locally, create my own media files and stream them locally, throw Spotify on there and stream it through there. With the smart TVs now, you can sync up your cell phone and have your cell phone direct your video to the smart TV. But what if you don't have a smart TV? Or what if your smart TV is several years old and hasn't had an update? Like I've got a media box that YouTube won't work on anymore, and they won't support it and update the YouTube app. So if you try and run YouTube through it, it says, sorry, this application is no longer supported. So now that means I have to buy something else. But with a unit like this, it'll work for years and years. You can always download and upgrade the app. There's some concern that later versions of Windows 10 may not support the CPU that this has, but that's not really going to be that important for this type of usage. And this is driving me crazy. How do I get out of this? Let's see. There's escape. There we go. Escape works. And now we're back into, you can see the chat. Ron says 1 carry is enough. I'm like Mr. Meeseeks. Look at me. Here, where is he? Here he is. Now it's appropriate. Can do. All right. Impressions aren't my thing. There he is. If you don't get that joke, you need to watch Rick and Morty, probably the best thing on television. Anyway, let's close this out. Let's see. Come on, mouse. I don't know why the mouse is sometimes working and sometimes it doesn't, other than that the computer may be slow, or that, did I maybe hit the button by mistake? Yeah, okay. So when I press the button again, it turns the mouse mode back on. Let's close that out, and then let's go, yes, close all. Close all, there we go. And let's go to the microphone. Let's see if we can do this. Check for updates. Check for updates. It says try play movie game. I don't know what that means. Oh, that's interesting. Once again, it's all live. This is the kind of stuff that maybe cut in editing, or you contact the manufacturer and try and find out there's some update you need to resolve this. And then that's cut out so that when you buy the product and you experience it, you're like, well, it didn't do that for this other guy. Microphone is used, was not designed. The microphone, the Azulle Lynk remote mic used with this PC was not designed for Cortana, so she might not be able to hear you clearly. Would you like to set up the mic anyway? Yes. I'll give you a phrase to repeat. Okay. Read the following sentences to complete. All right, so I guess I hold the microphone button down and speak into it. Peter talks to his computer and he prefers it to typing and particularly... At least it heard me. Good. Now let's close. Now let's try this one more time. I should be able to do that. Check for updates. It actually says check for updates right here. And we can go, I don't know, I've never done that before, but okay, that'll work. Got me there the long way. Close that back out. See, I've only been using this remote now for a few, 10, 15 minutes. I'm already starting to get the hang of it. Let's hit check for updates, retry. Something going on here. Some problems installing updates. We'll try again later. What? So what I'm going to do is restart the computer, because anytime you have a computer problem, that'll be the first thing you want to do. So let's hit restart. Now, if you guys want to see how long this takes to boot, now's your chance to pay attention to the clock at the bottom of the screen. Don't count this. This is shutting down. Wait until the screen goes blank, and then even then don't start the clock yet. Wait till you see the Azulle logo. Then take a look at the clock. Remember, this is a $115, $120 product, all right? Basically the cost of Windows. There's your Azulle logo. It does say I'm running version 4.92 of the BIOS. There may be an update to that. I don't know. Never plugged it in before. So I could look into that. That may help. And, you know, you're not going to have rocket ship boot times, but it's still faster than how long it took a 286, 386, 46, Pentium 1, 2, or 3 to boot, or Pentium 4 for that matter. It's still faster than those things were. Or it's certainly a lot faster than those things would be with Windows 10, and that's for sure. And we got our welcome screen. Now we're loading the desktop, and it should then connect to the Wi-Fi automatically, which it's already done. It's already booted. That's not terrible. I mean, it's not. If you got up to get a cup of coffee or something, by the time you reached for the cup, this thing would pretty much be up. I'm not paid anything to have this opinion. I'm just being observant. I've been in the business a long time, and I've waited and wasted a lot of time waiting for computers to boot. So if you're younger and you've only seen fast computers in your life, that may have seemed longer to you than it did to me. Let's check for updates again. Let's try doing a right mouse click on the start button and going to control panel. Of course, that doesn't work on the current version of Windows 10. And then we want to go to System and Security. Oh, no. Gosh darn it. Oh, that's all right. No, it isn't. Fix problems with Windows Update? No. 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 I said no. Come on. Maybe if this was in the shape of a gun, this remote, maybe it'd be easier for me to use. Ease of access, user accounts. Where is it? I thought it was under System and Security. So that's the other. Well, let's do this. Let's change this view to large icons so I have a control panel that I am familiar with. The old school control panel. And then let's grab that elevator bar and drag it down. Come on, get down. Get down. And oh, there's no Windows Update there either. All right. I'm going to go back to Cortana and do it the way I already did it. Check for updates. Oh, I pushed the wrong button. Check for updates. Check for updates. And apparently when I'm doing that, it's shutting the mouse off. Or, oh, I hit the mouse button instead of the mic button. Check for updates. All right, I'm just going to type it in. Check. Yeah, and all I had to do was type in check, and it already came up. Now the mouse isn't working again. Push the button. There we go. There we go. And what's happening here is I keep pushing the wrong button. I had my finger on the microphone button, and I kept pushing the microphone button. I meant to hit the left mouse button, which is here. I'm still getting this strange error, which I'm going to have to look into, that basically says there's problems installing updates, but we'll try again later. There's the error code 8007-0422. And, you know, that's a minor little, I mean, for me, I'm a tech, I deal with this stuff. It's not a big deal. But a lot of times, this is the kind of stuff that's cut out of reviews. Ideally, for me to review this properly, the way everybody else does it, I would get to know it off camera. I would get all the firmware updates and operating system updates installed. I would run through a few trials of different, maybe a couple different games or a couple different videos, maybe 4K video to see if it'll play or stream a 4K video. I don't know if it will or not. Throw Netflix on there. I'm sure Netflix won't have any problem. And the problem you run into when you demo something like this is you run into a lot of copyright issues. I can't play any music. I can't really show you any videos other than the ones I've made myself. And that limits the sort of sharing the experience with you and what you can expect. Because if I wanted to load Star Wars up here and see if Star Wars looks good or something like that, then I have a copyright issue and I can't monetize the video. And you guys are, I'm sure, familiar with all that. So anyway, it's just a full functioning Windows 10. We can go into our system. Let's go down here, back to Cortana here, and let's just type in the word system, S-Y-S-T-E-M, and that's it. That's what I want, system in the control panel. And we can see it shows we've got 4 gigs of RAM, 3.85 gig is usable. That means that the part that's not usable is being used for the graphics card. The graphics card is built in. Any built-in graphics card shares your RAM. It's Windows 10 Home. It is the 64-bit edition. It shows we have an Intel Atom X5 Z3735F running at 1.44 gigahertz. And it defaults to the workgroup, pen and touch, single touch support. It's all pretty standard stuff. You heard the sound working earlier. It's really intended to be a plug-and-play device, although I think this device should not be an option when you purchase this unit. But again, that's my personal preference. I think they should be bundled together as an HTPC solution. Obviously, there are other portable keyboard mouse, like Logitech makes it, as I mentioned, about yay big, and maybe a little easier to control it because it's larger, but not as convenient that you can't one-hand it, if you will. And let's see, do you guys have any questions? Let me look over at the chat room. Let me bring the lights back up again, and let's see if you guys have any questions I can answer for you that you want to know about this unit or its sister unit here that I've got. This one's called the Byte Plus. There are links to these products in the video description below this video. If you want to get more information, read the reviews on Amazon. Clearly, I have nothing to do with what anybody writes on Amazon, so take their opinion along with my own to help you to determine your own. So let's see what's going on in chat. Run some benchmarks. What benchmarks would you like to see run? Remember, this is not a performance machine. I'm not quite sure what the point of that is. It's like you want a 0 to 60 time on a Chevy Spark. It was never designed to have a particular 0 to 60 time. So I don't know what you're going to expect from benchmarks with built-in video sharing 4 gigs of RAM on Windows 10 64-bit on an Atom processor. But if there's a particular benchmark you want me to run, we'll give it a shot. Carrie, the computer can't update because you're live streaming. The computer has no idea that I'm live streaming. The computer's connected to my guest network. It's got its own internet connection. It absolutely should not have any impact. Probably would work better with a flash drive. Yeah, I could copy some media files, like some videos I've made here on YouTube. Copy those over to a flash drive and plug it into the USB port, and then run the file locally that way. I also have my NAS, and I can stream the files wirelessly. Obviously, 4K is going to be a bit, I don't know. I'm on my guest network, which is on the 2.4. If I bump it up to switch over to the 5 gigahertz network, the 4K may stream, but it's not a 4K monitor, so it's kind of pointless. Carrie, I'm watching you on my 55-inch LG. That's the way to go. That's what I'm talking about. Better than anything on cable, as far as I'm concerned. Not necessarily just my stuff, but I mean just YouTube in general. I think this is a Bluetooth. I'm not sure. I don't know what the technology is in this, because I think that little dongle I plugged in is a Bluetooth dongle, but I could be mistaken. Prime 95. Why would I run Prime? Usually we run Prime 95 to determine heat levels. I'm not sure. Why would you want me to run the Prime 95 test? You want to see what it looks like inside? I don't think there's any way to open it. It looks as though it's like snapped together. It may even be glued together. It's not user serviceable. There's no screws that I can see to remove. There's a warning sticker on the back that the unit can get hot, and that's normal. Not to worry about that. I wouldn't know how to open it up. I honestly have no idea. And given that it's got a Kensington lock on here, it's probably got a big metal shield around it. And I would assume that if it's opened up, it'll never be able to be put back together again. And that would be a shame, because I can certainly see a lot of use for this, not only for myself, but for even people I know that would benefit from it. If I open it up, I'm sure you can Google it. Maybe even there's other YouTubers that have done it and have opened it up, but I really don't want to open it up because I don't think I'll be able to get it back together. Not without using some glue. It's basically a SBC. I don't know what an SBC is. Can you do a durability test? The best durability test is simply using it on a day-to-day basis for everyday tasks and seeing how it holds up over time. There's no other way to simulate the reality of dust collecting and it being turned on and turned off and turned on and turned off and just used regularly just to see how it upholds, or holds up rather, over time. And so I can report back on that. I'll probably end up using this as an HTPC on my older TV where I mentioned that the YouTube app isn't working anymore. This may be a great alternative for that. What ports does the device have? It's got 2 USB ports. It's got a SD card reader, writer, and that's it, and an Ethernet port. So that's it. And there's a headphone jack, but I don't consider that to be a port. Oh, SBC, a single board computer. Yeah, it's a single board computer, I'm pretty sure. There's a little lump right here in the device. It's a little thicker, so maybe there's a Wi-Fi daughter board or something added to it. That would be my guess. So maybe 2 boards. I don't know. Without opening it, I don't know. USB 3. Yeah, there's a USB 2 and a USB 3. Is that a legal copy of Windows 10? Yes, manufacturers like Azulle or Dell or HP buy the Windows 10 from Microsoft at a price that you and I can't buy it at because they're manufacturers, and Microsoft says, we'll sell this to you for like $30, but in exchange, we're not going to do any support. You have to do all the support. And they say, okay, good deal. And that's an expense that has to be added onto the device, the cost of the device. But the fact of the matter is, when you go and buy an OEM copy of Windows 10 from a legitimate source, it's about it's either $99.95 to $120, somewhere in there. And that's pretty much the cost of this unit with Windows 10 on it. And that's just an advantage these OEM manufacturers have over system builders like us. They can get those copies legitimately, very, very inexpensively, because they're making them in such mass quantities. They even have different activation techniques. So are there any other questions I can answer you guys want to know about this or the other unit from Azulle? Remember, it's just over $100. You're not getting a Ferrari. You are not getting, some incredible gaming rig. That's not what it is. It's really meant as an HTPC. It's meant to play videos. It's meant to stream video, stream music, or to do some light browsing tasks, such as browsing the web, reading your email, going on Facebook, that sort of thing. And that's all the power a lot of users need. And if that meets your needs, it's a great deal, because a lot of users will overbuy. They'll spend $800 on a computer that can do all the stuff that they don't use it for. It's like, to me, it reminds me of somebody who buys a four-wheel drive SUV and never takes it off-road. They're just taking the kids back and forth to school. They overbought. Can it play a 4K video from YouTube? Well, here's the thing. This is not a 4K TV, this monitor here. This is just 1080. I think it's 1080. I think it's 1080, not 720. It better be 1080. So that's the highest it's going to go. So while it would probably play a 4K video, we really wouldn't be able to notice or see if it was really in 4K mode, because it would still have to downsize it back to 1080. I think YouTube is intelligent enough through the browser to know that. I can try it. I can see what happens, but I have a prediction that I think it's going to play just fine, because it's still going to be limited to 1080 regardless. Someone's asking me for a rating. I don't know how to rate this. It does what you would expect it to do if your expectations were realistic. If you're buying it for the right reason, you should be happy with it, except what I don't know is how it holds up over time. I haven't called their support to verify these claims that it's in the USA and that every question or inquiry is going to be answered guaranteed. Azulle has their own YouTube channel. You can go to Azulle's YouTube channel, which I will add as a link to the in the video description, so you can see their how-to videos on their channel. That's the first I've read it, so I haven't been there. And their customer service is bilingual. Hablamos español. What else? Website is azulletech.com. The unit has no fan. It's dead silent. There's no sound coming out of this unit. And that's what you want in an HTPC. You don't want something that's going to be visually or audibly distracting from your media that you're trying to watch. It would be like, being in a movie theater. You're there to experience the movie, and they've got some blinking lights or some other distraction that would just take away from the experience. So once again, I think that having the right expectations for what the device is used for will ultimately make you happy, because now you're not spending $600 on a NUC. Let's say you get an Intel NUC, which is a fantastic computer, but way more power than you need for a task like this. So why spend $600 when you can spend $150, let's say, and basically have the same thing? Sure, the NUC's going to boot faster, it's going to have more storage space, and it has the potential to do more. But if you're never going to do more, and you don't need the storage space because you're streaming everything, or you're going to plug things in through USB for streaming, or off the web, or Netflix, or Hulu, or Amazon Prime, or any of those other services, storage space becomes irrelevant other than the little apps you download to stream those services. And for 32 gigs of solid-state memory in there, that should be plenty of space. And if not, you can slap an SD card in there. SD cards are cheaper and cheaper all the time, and expand your storage, just like we used to do on GPSs. When your map data became too big on like a Garmin GPS, your option was to buy an SD card, or to not have all the states of the updated GPS. You'd have to get the East Coast or just the West Coast. And as the GPS got older and the map updates got more and more detailed, you eventually became obsolete and you had to upgrade your GPS. So the memory card helps to keep the unit from becoming obsolete by expanding that memory storage if you need to. But you really shouldn't be putting much on this to begin with. It's just not designed for that use. Could you play Euro Truck Simulator 2 on it? I have no idea. If it does play 4K, it'll more than likely be at 30 frames per second. Probably. Try to do 1080, 60 frames per second. I'd have to have a link to a video for that. If you plug a USB with videos on it, it'll play just like any other computer that you plug a USB with videos on it. I would put like VLC on it and let VLC open it and just play it locally. I'd have to download VLC. That's going to take a few moments as I futz around with remote control. I really don't want to do that on a live video, but I have no doubt that's going to work just fine. Once VLC's on it, and just have VLC be your default media player. VLC is very lightweight. I know VLC runs fine on my Kindle Fire, and I don't believe the Kindle Fire has as much memory or processing power as this unit has. Did I say Kindle Fire? I didn't mean Kindle Fire. Amazon Fire TV. That's what I meant to say. I can tell you the Azulle PC stick is much better than the Intel PC stick. I don't know, I've never used a PC stick ever before. This is the very first time, but it's operating exactly the way I would expect it to. If anything, it's a little faster and a little more responsive than I was expecting it to be. Media Player Classic better than VLC. I disagree. I completely disagree. When it comes to different, I don't want to download codec packs. That's a good way to get yourself infected with a virus. With VLC, it just plays every legitimate codec that I'm aware of. And so if VLC won't play it, then I will find the file someplace else, because that'll be a questionable file as far as I'm concerned. But to each his own. Use what you want. I don't care. This computer doesn't care either. If you want to put Classic Media Player on there, that's the beauty of it. Unlike the Amazon Fire TV, where there are just certain apps you can download. Otherwise, you have to hack it, and that requires a certain level of technical knowledge, and you risk, breaking it, if you will, in that process. And this is just more in tune to somebody who wants to have that kind of control without getting into a level of hacking or, I suppose, just like making it more available to the average user who wants to be able, who's familiar with Windows. You already know Windows 10, right? Rather than buying an Amazon Fire TV or a Chromecast, you've got different menuing systems and limitations. You can have all the openness of the Windows platform to put whatever you want on there. Set your screensaver to a bunch of family photos or something, so that when your TV's just on, it can be cycling through your family photos. And you don't have a whole lot of relearning to do because you already know Windows 10, right? And then you've got all this expansion availability that's limited mostly to your imagination, unlike dedicated media devices like the Fire TV or the Chromecast, which are very good at doing what they do, and they're very inexpensive, but they do a lot less. I think this would make a good Skype PC. It might make a good Skype PC. I don't know how fast it's going to encode and upload video. It might do it well. I don't know. We'd have to plug a webcam into it, and I'm not sure if I plug a webcam and then plug in a microphone, that's going to use up both my USB ports without any keyboard or mouse. So now we're talking about adding a USB hub. Things start getting kind of cable crazy that way. It's probably going to have to be a USB powered hub, which is another cable. Now maybe you'd be better off with a NUC. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't try to make this PC run at its limit. I think that would be a mistake in purchasing a device to meet your needs it's just going to barely meet those needs. I would much rather see you get a higher end PC for Skype usage if you're going to be using a webcam. If all you're going to do is talk without the webcam, I'm sure that's no problem at all. And if you weren't broadcasting in HD, probably not a problem. But I would be concerned broadcasting in HD while receiving an HD signal and sending and receiving audio. If you were going to do that a lot, like podcasting, so I wouldn't use this. If it's just on a rare occasion you want to talk to a family member, it'll do it. And I'm sure it'll do it at an acceptable level. Remember, keep your expectations in line with the price. Oh yeah, webcams do have some mics built in, but they sound like crap. But yeah, you can do that too. Or like a Rode Podcaster where, no, that's a bad example. I was thinking because it's got the headphone jack built into the mic. Is that a Mr. Meeseeks? Well, somebody's just joining us. Specs don't say anything about Bluetooth. Well, the unit itself doesn't have Bluetooth. I'm talking about the remote. The remote came with this dongle, and I don't know if I thought that was a Bluetooth dongle. There is an instruction manual in here, and it doesn't really specify. Well, I don't know. Actually, it's the first time I've seen it. It does have a learning mode for infrared power, so you can program the remote to work with your television. And you can calibrate the motion. You can adjust the air mouse moving speed. How to pair it with the receiver. This just says if you want to pair it to the receiver, you go and press the volume up button and the volume down button together for 3 seconds, and the LED will flash continuously at 8 hertz. I guess what they're saying is it'll flash 8 times a second. The default searching time is set to 2 minutes. Press any button in 2.4G mode along with the AI power button and the AI learn button. When the blue LED 4 gigahertz flashes, it means that it's not paired. And when it's in normal use of infrared mode, all power button only sends infrared codes. Maybe infrared. Maybe it's infrared. The introduction said the Azulle Lynk is a PC multifunctional remote control designed to provide the user with a unique and capable tool to operate their computer, smart TV, media streaming devices, and many others. The Lynk offers a simple and smooth experience with its plug-and-play setup. It comes with an integrated mini QWERTY backlit keyboard. I didn't see the keyboard light up, but maybe I'm doing something wrong. 2.4 gigahertz air mouse, infrared remote, 6-axis gyroscope technology, and a microphone for audio chat capability with speech recognition software. This product can be used as an accessory for devices supporting Windows, Android, Mac OS, and or Linux. For more product information, visit our website at www.azulletech.com. So there you have it. Not a whole lot of information here, just mostly describing the product, what the buttons do, and things like that. I'm sure that there's stuff here that I don't know the product can do. You know, my main concern was basically, can we take it out of the box and make it work? Spend, you know, whatever it is for the, was it 115 and 30, I think, for the remote, something like that. So $150, and be able to have our TV be fully a computer. Just imagine sitting in bed, a TV mounted on your wall. You don't have to worry about the cabling. You know, you can hide this thing so no one can see it. You could probably put some double-sided tape or Velcro on there, stick it to the back of your TV. No one would ever see it. It's a nice, clean installation. I would be worried, though, if the remote will work. If it's infrared and you can't see it, the remote isn't going to work. That I don't know. But it seems like a great solution for an HTPC. And again, basic internet usage, checking email, playing solitaire, checking email. Did I say checking email? Browsing the web, reading the news, going to Facebook, all those sorts of things people do. And especially, you know, my favorite, going on YouTube and watching the variety of content that's available on YouTube. What if you need to reinstall Windows 10? Does it have a recovery option? That's a good question. Windows 10 has its own recovery option, all Windows 10. And you can create a rescue disk with this device as you would any other Windows 10 computer. Just because Dell and HP, those companies, make their own partitions and such, that's not normal. You don't have to have that. You could certainly boot to an Acronis boot CD or boot USB and plug in an external hard drive and make an image of the whole thing, and you're good to go. Or if that's too complicated or it costs more money, you can certainly use Windows 10's built-in recovery tools to make your own recovery disks and system image. That's all part of Windows 10. What size is the hard drive? Well, there's no hard drive. It's got basically what would be best called an SSD. It's solid state memory. It's 32 gigs. 32 gigs. Now, how much of that's available right now? That's a good question. How much of that 32 gigs is available for us to use? Let's find out. So it looks like to save battery life, the mouse turns itself off. There we go. Let me step over here. Is it going to let me check for updates now? Nope. Okay, so how much space do we have? Let's go down to the File Explorer here. Oops. C drive. So it's using 14.6 gigs. I'm sorry, 14.6 gigs are free out of 28.2. It gets to 28.2 from 32. We could probably free some space up on here by right-clicking, going to Properties, go to Disk Cleanup. This might free up a little more space. Basically, it's using about 50% of the space out of the box. And you can do this to your computer as well. Now, the newest version of Windows 10, the Creators Update that came out in April, it does this automatically. But every version of Windows prior to that, if you didn't do this, temp files just build up and build up and build up, and that's why utilities like CCleaner became so useful and important. With the latest Creators Update of Windows 10, you really don't even need CCleaner anymore. It just automatically every 30 days will clean out all the temp files, and that means all the Windows Update files that have been sitting on your computer that you don't need anymore because the updates were already applied, and you're not going to be uninstalling them because that would be foolish. That alone can free up a lot of space. Then we want to click the Cleanup System Files because the regular cleanup just gives us temp files. We want to clean up more than just temp files. We want to clean up everything we can clean up to free up as much space as possible. So it's going to go through this same routine one more time as it's going to, the button's hidden down here. There it is. It's going to calculate one more time. So it's normal to have to do that twice on computers. So it's, looking at backup files and things like that that are not necessary. And of course, when you free that space up, Windows will automatically create new backup files and new system restore points, and etc. over time. Halen says, hello from Scotland. Well, hi, Scotland. Remember, you can always plug an external hard drive into this, right? I mean, they've got the little laptop drives, the little external ones, up to 4 terabytes now. You plug that in, you have 4 terabytes of storage. But the minute you start plugging on things and things are getting, overwhelming with cables and such, that tells you that you bought the wrong device. Ideally, this is a device for people who have a very simple task they want to resolve, and that's primarily, as I've mentioned, the tasks I've mentioned, streaming video, browsing the web, email, Skype, things like that. The minute you want to start using it more as a file server or an FTP server, storing all your videos and things like that, you're much better off putting that stuff over to a NAS and just accessing it through your network. However, you can do that. It's just really not designed for that. And then you start losing the whole point of the device being small and out of the way and, clean install, uncomplicated. You don't have to make it complicated. The minute you make it complicated, you probably should have bought something that better suited your needs. And ultimately, it would probably cost you less money in the long run and give you better performance. So the concept here isn't to say this is good for any task you have. And it's not to say you couldn't use it for those things. It just, at some point, stops making sense, right? You wouldn't tow a boat on the back of your bicycle. You could do it. It's possible. But there are other tools that are better designed for towing a boat than a bicycle. What are we doing here? Did this finish? All right, so let's check all the boxes. Let me step over here. Let's get, I'm just curious if this is hidden back here. Will the remote still work? Yeah, so it's not, the remote itself is not infrared because it can't see it right now. It's working fine. So basically what I do is I'll go into the disk cleanup for Windows and I just check every single one of the boxes. And then we'll have to scroll down because there's more stuff down below. It's a little cumbersome to do it with this remote like this. If there's anything in the recycle bin, you know, a lot of people don't empty their recycle bin. They don't know they have to. They don't realize it's just like any other garbage can. When you've filled the garbage can up, you need to take the garbage out. You need to empty the can. Let's take that one and that one. So it's showing a total of 526 megabytes that can be removed. So that's half a gig. When you're only dealing with 32, that's significant. So let's go ahead and hit OK. It's going to say, are you sure you want to delete these files? Of course, you're not going to miss anything. I guarantee there's nothing in there you need. Just let it run. And then after that finishes, you want to reboot the computer, and it'll say something like Windows Update is finishing or finishing cleaning up, and you have to be patient. So we need to reboot this when it's done. Is the Ethernet port gigabit? Yes, it is. That's one of the first things I wanted to know. I haven't seen a 100 megabit Ethernet port in years, even on the cheapest of computers. Can you plug a keyboard mouse dongle into it? Yes, but if I do, then I'm using the one right now for talking to you guys in the chat, which is why I haven't done it. But yes, absolutely you can. It'll work just fine. Would it power an external hard drive through the USB? Yes, absolutely. Sazid says hello from London. Hello from Georgia. That's from Chris. Looks like some folks are leaving. Ron, I'll talk to you soon, I hope. Can you ditch Windows 10 and load 8.1? I don't know. I wouldn't want to do that. I never want to go backwards with technology. That doesn't make any sense to me. It seems to me there's a lot of people on the internet making their lives a lot more difficult and complicated than it needs to be. And that's your choice. You're absolutely free to do that. And I'm sure there's a way. If you put if you put Windows 8.1 on a USB stick, and it's probably going to install just like any other computer. I don't know if you're going to have any driver-related problems or not. I imagine it would work just fine. I just can't imagine any reason why anybody would want to do that, because clearly the performance is going to be better in Windows 10. Windows 10 has proven that time and time again. And I don't see any advantage to running an operating system that will soon become obsolete, where Windows 10 is good at least for the next 10 years. So I don't know why you'd want to move backwards, and whatever reason you have, I'm not interested in. So again, I don't know what this fascination is of taking something simple and trying to make it complicated. You can always make something complicated. That requires laziness. I know it sounds bizarre, right? Because making it complicated implies more work. But what I'm saying is that The laziness is in your refusal to accept the new technology and to utilize the benefits of the new technology because you're more comfortable with what you're familiar with. That's where the laziness creeps in. Whatever your concerns are with Windows 10, they can either be addressed or accepted, or simply abandon Windows if it's a privacy issue. Privacy today is pretty much gone. So this idea that you're going to have any privacy, if that's what you're thinking about with Windows 10, you might as well get rid of your smartphone. It's tracking everywhere you go and everywhere you do. Every free thing you use, like YouTube, is tracking you. Facebook is tracking, measuring, monitoring. When you step outside your door, security cameras are watching you. If you have any frequent shopper cards to get discounts at grocery stores, they know what you buy. So I don't know, if you're using any sort of credit card or debit card to make payments, that's all being tracked. Everything is being tracked. So if you're worried about your privacy today, just imagine how much worse it's going to be 10 years from now. And you're going to look back on these days when you actually had some modicum of it. With regards to any other reason of running an older OS, I'm sorry, I just can't get on board with that. Buy a computer with Windows 8.1 if you want Windows 8.1. Keep things simple. Use the device the way it was intended if you want to have a good experience with it. If you want to start manipulating it in ways that it wasn't intended, then you will deal with the obstacles that will cause. And some people enjoy that. I'm not one of those people. I'm busy. I want something to work. I don't want to spend an hour trying to get YouTube to work. And then I get it to work and it's time for bed and there's no time to watch YouTube. It's like my Xbox. I turn it on so infrequently that when I do turn it on, I have to wait an hour for it to update and reboot and update and reboot. And then every game I put in, it wants an update before it'll play the game. And when that's all said and ready, I don't have any time to play the game anymore. It's like buying a $200 wallet and you've got $202 in your pocket. So you buy the $200 wallet and you take your two $1 bills you have left and stick it in there. Does that make any sense? For some people it does. For me, not one of those guys. No, if you're on YouTube, if you're connected to the internet right now watching YouTube, do you have privacy? No. Even if you're using a VPN, cookies are being left on the computer. You're still being tracked and monitored. If you step foot outside your door, if you use a credit, all those things I mentioned, if you have a smartphone, it knows where you are. It knows where you're going and how fast you're getting there. It knows how often you leave and about what time you leave the house and about what time you come home every day. If there's any patterns, they know what those patterns are already. So this is a part of, if you want to participate in the technology, that comes along with it. You don't say, I really like the front side of the door, but I don't like the back side of the door. Well, if you want to have a door, you can't have a front without a back. So if you don't like that, get rid of the door. If you want to have the door, then learn how to live with the other side of it. That's all I can say. It's just, I don't even know why is this even up for discussion? This should be like common sense at this point. What is the most private operating system? Your operating system isn't the thing you're worried about. Your ISP, your internet service provider, is tracking where you're going. The DNS server may be tracking where you're going. Your phone service provider will be tracking where you're going. The sites that you go to are tracking that you go to those sites. Again, you guys are really trying to overcomplicate something that's extraordinarily simple. It's very simple. I'm like showing you how to butter toast, and you're saying, well, can I use a piece of paper to spread the butter instead of a knife? Why would you want to do that? Why? Yeah, I suppose you could. It'd be a lot harder. You'd have to work a lot harder, and it would take you longer, and you would eventually get to the same goal. But why? I think those kind of questions are best answered through your own experimentation. And when you do it enough and you get sick and tired of it, you'll realize it's a lot easier to go with the flow of the river than to be trying to paddle against it. So maybe you need to change your destination or your attitude or your expectations, or don't go in the river. So to get back on track, so before I wrap up the video, does anybody have any other questions about the unit? Anything else you want to know that I can potentially answer for you? I'm happy to do so. I don't know what else to cover. Again, this is all live. It's all unrehearsed, unscripted. So it's not as though I've sat down and figured out all these different things I want to talk about. Besides, I don't really know what you're interested in and what you want to know. So why don't you tell me, and I can let you know. We can do a discussion about privacy and internet cookies another day. This is about Azulle today. This is what we're talking about. Both the remote, the I hate to mention the product name, but it's very much like a Nook. It's a lot cheaper. It's a lot less powerful. But once again, if you want something more if you want more expansion than this has, more of a desktop PC or more of an HTPC where you plan on having external storage on it, you can rest the external drive right on top of it. This is also fanless, so it's dead silent. It's also got Wi-Fi, very similar in a lot of ways to this unit here. It's a different package. Like I say, more upgradable. It's like $40 more, I think. This one is running the CherryTrail T8300 versus the 8350, which is the same 1.44 gigahertz up to 1.84 is exactly the same. It's the same 4 gig of RAM and 32 gig of memory. All that's identical. It's just a different package, a different format. And, to each their own with that. Very inexpensive devices, especially when you consider how much Windows 10 by itself costs. They're almost giving you the computer for free when you think about it. What's the difference between this and a smart TV? Well, a smart TV is going to have built-in applications. It may have Hulu or Netflix or whoever they've made a deal with to put the app on the TV. Those apps may need to get updated from time to time, which may or may not happen depending on if your TV manufacturer is still in business or if the TV has the ability internally, the processing power to handle the upgraded app. So what will end up happening over time eventually is your TV app will stop working because it won't get updated. At some point, it eventually will not get updated for whatever reason. When that happens, whatever that function of that smart TV is will no longer work. When you have a computer hooked up to your TV, and as such, we have a computer with Windows operating system on it, now the limitation's not on the TV. The TV is just acting as a big computer monitor, and you can put whatever apps you want on it indefinitely so long as they're compatible with the version of Windows you have. Now, eventually, there'll be a version of Windows that this won't run. That will happen. But you'll be able to run thousands of applications on this. Whereas on a smart TV, you can only run a handful of apps. A smart TV isn't going to have this kind of processing power or memory. I've never seen a smart TV with this kind of processing power or memory. I've never seen a smart TV running Windows 10. So everything you can do in Windows 10 on the home computer or laptop you're using right now to watch this video, or even with the smartphone you're using to watch this video, this is more power than your smartphone. This has more memory than your smartphone. This is faster than your smartphone. That's the main difference. It's the ability to do whatever you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, even if it doesn't make any sense. You can do it on this unit. But even more so is you have more choice and more control than anything on a smart TV. A smart TV has severe limitations on the apps that are available. Yes, this uses HDMI. What version of HDMI? I don't know. I've never had an instance where the version of HDMI has ever mattered. I've never plugged something HDMI in that didn't work and then had to find out that something was HDMI 2 and something else was HDMI 1.4. I've never had any sort of compatibility issue. I'm not exactly sure what the differences in the versions are because it's never come up. The version of HDMI this has, you can get that specification, I'm sure, at azulletech.com, AZULLETECH.com. I'll be sure and add that link to the video description below the video. Carrie, would a tablet be better? Well, with a tablet, you're not running Windows 10. You're usually running like an Android OS, things like that. Like I've got a Kindle Fire tablet. It's actually my wife's, so I really don't use it. And it's a little discouraging sometimes to use the browser that it comes with. It's kind of funky. There's a learning curve. It's touch screen, so it's difficult to type on. If I wanted to plug a wireless keyboard in this and lay in bed and write a novel, I could do that. I wouldn't do that on a tablet. It would just be too difficult, making life much more difficult. Using things like Chromecast out of your smartphone or your tablet are certainly options for a smart TV that has that ability. Many TVs, though, aren't smart TVs, but they do have HDMI ports. If you have an old DLP television like I do, there's nothing smart about it. But I've got HDMI ports, and now it's nothing more than a big computer monitor that I can do anything with. A tablet is also a lot more money than this. So I guess it depends what your needs are. If you want something that you want to take with you, you want to be able to watch your media at home and then also watch your media on the go, having a tablet would be better for that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is the best device for everybody. Absolutely not. What I'm trying to do is say, if you want an HTPC, this is certainly a very affordable way to go. And it also gives you that option to do in Windows whatever you want to do in Windows. You're not restricted, so you don't have to relearn the operating system of the unit. It's the same as the operating system on your desktop or your laptop. That's what I really like about it. So all the same applications that you use can be installed. You want to put Microsoft Office on this, and do it. You want to put Amazon Cloud Services on there, throw it on there. Whatever runs on Windows 10, it's Windows 10. Of course, that also means you need to have some antivirus on there too. So without the antivirus, you're running a risk of getting infected, and if it's connected to your network, it could infect everything on your network. I've got this connected to my guest network, so that wouldn't happen. And if you're not doing shady things on the internet, downloading torrent files, that are pirated, and you're going to sites where malware is spread, the virus really shouldn't be an issue, but a light antivirus on there like Byte or MCSoft would be a smart thing to do. And that you wouldn't have to worry about, not yet, with a tablet or a smartphone. So that's another thing to consider. Does the unit turn on when you turn on your TV? Well, no, you could just leave the unit on. You would never have to turn this off. Just turn the TV off. I mean, if you want to use it that often, you'd never need to wait for a boot time. Just leave the thing on 24/7, and when you turn your TV on, it's good to go. Can't get any better than that. There's no fan in it. Just let it run 24/7. Why would you ever need to turn it off? Oh, so there's some discussion of H.265 encoding. I don't like H.265 encoding because none of the streamers that I have decode it very well. Not even my Fire TV decodes H.265 well. So I stick with H.264. It's the industry standard in the professional industry. I see H.265 used in the distribution of copyrighted materials like television shows and stuff, and I've attempted to play them, and the only thing they play on is in VLC on a powerful computer. And the file sizes are very small, which maybe it's my imagination, but I think the quality is representative of the file size. So when a file is normally, I don't know, let's say 1.4 gigs and the H.265 version is 300K, not watching it on a big screen TV, maybe on a smartphone or something like that, where you've got a small, when you're watching a big screen, quality gets more important the bigger the screen gets. Yeah, electricity use on this, leaving it on 24/7 would be next to nothing because the CPU has power states where it slows itself down, and you can even have it go to sleep and do everything else you could do with a laptop on a battery. So that wouldn't be an issue. The electricity cost is insignificant. Certainly cheaper than whatever desktop you might be using, electricity-wise. All right, have I missed any other questions? Are we about wrapped up here? Let's see. Yeah, I really, without having I don't own a 4K TV. I don't really get the whole point of 4K. HD looks great to me. 1080 looks wonderful. I've gone to the store and I've looked at the regular HD versus the 1080, versus 4K versus 8K. I've got Cox cable. Cox cable does not deliver any content in 4K. The cable box does not offer 4K. You'd have to go to Dish Network or DirecTV to get 4K content on top of buying a 4K TV, or I'd have to stream it. And a lot of the streaming that people think they're watching in 4K is extremely compressed, especially coming out of Netflix. And it's like this psychosomatic thing that you think it's better. It's like handing somebody who thinks they're cool, and they're drinking for the first time. You're like, oh, this is going to get you drunk, and you're just giving them water, and then they're walking around like, oh, I'm so wasted. We all know people like that, don't we? I think a lot of that's in the imagination. However, in all fairness, I never really saw the appeal of HD. For a very long time, I'm like, look, I'm looking at HD and I'm looking at SD, and I don't see much difference. But TV technology has come a long way, and it's gotten better. And I would much rather have a HDR television rather than a 4K television. Unfortunately, they're combining those two together. So for me to get HDR, I have to get 4K. And I can see the difference in HDR. If I could buy a 1080 television with HDR, that would be the sweet spot right there. If the manufacturers would realize that they could make more money by producing an HD television with the 1080 resolution, with the HDR option, I think they could make a higher profit margin on the TV, and the consumers would be very hard pressed to tell the difference between 1080 and 4K with HDR. That's my personal belief. Everybody's different. That's just what I think. Does VHS look any good at 4K? It's funny when you look at the stuff, like when we watched, for you kids out there, when we watched TV on a square television, a glass tube television, it looked fine. It wasn't grainy. It wasn't fuzzy at all. It was a fine picture. But when you take this low resolution picture that's square and you put it on a big screen rectangular TV, it magnifies. It's like watching it under a huge magnifying glass, and it looks like crap. And you go, man, that show Elf from the 80s sure does look old, or Cheers, or Night Court, or any of those shows from the 80s, Married with Children. Even when you watch them playing back on YouTube, they look terrible because you're effectively watching it under a magnifying glass. If you were to watch those shows back on a glass tube television, they look fine. There's nothing wrong with them. So when somebody says, how does VHS look? VHS looks like crap on a modern TV because you're watching it under a huge magnifying glass. So you see every flaw amplified. If you play back a VHS tape on a VHS player hooked up to an old school CRT glass tube TV, it looks fine. Granted, it doesn't look HD, but it looks nowhere near as bad as it looks taking SD content and putting it on an HD television. The bigger, as I mentioned earlier, the bigger the screen is, the higher definition the resolution has to be, because what you're effectively doing is you're magnifying the picture. So if you're magnifying something, let's say you've got, let's say you've got 8 grains of rice, 10 grains of rice, and you want to put that on a bigger screen, right? Let's say you got a picture of 8 grains of rice. You put that on a bigger screen, you're going to see more detail, or you're going to see more errors depending on the level of megapixels that the photo is in. So the higher the megapixels means you can see the image much, much bigger. If you're only looking at images on your screen, you don't need an 18 megapixel camera. You're never going to see a difference in that. So it's all about making things bigger. When we make things bigger, all the flaws are bigger or more noticeable, and that's ultimately what the difference is. So looking back at 1980s television on a TV that's HD or a modern television, it looks archaic. It looks like, oh my gosh, how did you sit around and watch this? It looks so bad. But you watch it on the TV it was intended to be seen on, it looks fine. Even today, there's nothing wrong with it. It's fine. It cracks me up when people talk about, retina displays on their smartphones and things like that. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. A 4-inch screen or a 7-inch screen, once you hit a certain point of resolution, your eyeball, you have analog eyes. You don't have digital eyes. You have analog ears. On a screen that small, it's marketing at that point. It's selling you a placebo. There's a guy we used to have him on the radio show, was a TV expert. He used to talk about something like you needed a minimum 32-inch TV to see 1080. Anything that was at 1080 on less than a 32-inch screen was undetectable by the human eye. So some people are going to argue that. I'm not going to argue with them. If you think you can see it, then you can see it. I'm not going to debate that. But I understand the science of it and the logic of it. The bigger the TV is, the higher the resolution. It's that simple. And if you're going to go with higher resolution, you need more processing power, you need more RAM, you need more storage space, it's a bigger file. Then those files start getting cumbersome to move them around or store them or maintain them over time. So for some things that may be worth it. Maybe I want to see the latest Star Wars movie in the highest resolution on the biggest screen possible. Well, that's why there's still movie theaters. And on the other hand, there'll be movies that are just rom-coms, romantic comedies. I don't need to see Hugh Grant in 4K. I don't need to watch game shows on TV like Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune. I don't need that in 8K on a 100-inch screen. I don't need people's heads being, this big. It's very uncomfortable to me. So the movie theater still has its appropriate place. In fact, speaking of that, there's a movie coming out I'm really excited about called Valerian. And it just looks like fantastic visuals, just eye candy. I don't believe watching that movie at home will be the same experience as watching it in the theater or watching it in IMAX. I think you're going to see things on the bigger screen that you're not going to see at your home screen. If you have the personality where you look at detail, you can't replicate that at home, not right now. And that's why IMAX exists, and that's why movie theaters still exist. There's still a different experience on that larger screen, and that's, although most projectors now are digital, they're still dealing with file sizes much, much larger than probably what you're downloading or creating yourself at the theater. It's a whole different professional level. And of course, their theater's not storing the movies on hard drives to save them for later playback, So there's a certain skewed idea of what quality is. And it depends if you're the person that can notice it and looks for it. Like me, I like little details. So a movie like Valerian on a large screen with great loud audio, that's going to be an IMAX experience for me. The movie Avatar, seeing that in 3D on a big screen like IMAX or Pacific Rim, just not the same as watching it at home. But on the other hand, the vast majority of movies, I think, they don't have these huge budgets where, special effects budgets. Doesn't really make that much of a difference if you watch it at home or in the movies. And that takes us back to, well, then how important is having 4K or 8K? And then that goes back to how big is your screen. So we've just come around for full circle. In fact, the James Cameron developed the 3D that was used in Avatar, and he developed the underwater stuff that was used in Titanic. He, as much as a creative director as he is, he's also this really inspiring technology creator to make the technology that he needs to make his movies possible. We first saw the idea of morphing, like in the movie The Abyss with the liquid water, or in Terminator 2, and the first time we've ever seen that, just pushing the boundaries of special effects. The Matrix would be another one, where these special effects are then replicated in other movies going forward. But they were the first to do it, and they had to invent the technology. So James Cameron right now is working on 3D technology that doesn't require any glasses. He wants you to be able to see Avatar 2, and he's making Avatar 2, 3, and 4 right now. So 2, 3, and 4 are in the works, and he wants Avatar 2 to be in 3D without glasses. That's a pretty high, tall order. So I don't know how he's going to do that. But he's James Cameron. And there's one thing I've learned about James Cameron is that you don't doubt him. He's going to come through. He's going to figure something out. And even if it's not that, it'll be something else, and it's going to blow you away. And that's worth going to the theater to see. Start making movies interactive? No, I don't want to make a movie interactive and be in a theater full of trolls that are trying to mess with my movie-going experience. I disagree with that. Unless you're doing something that's VR and that you can make a decision, but then you wouldn't need to be in a theater. It would just be you by yourself. So that doesn't make any sense. All right, well, last chance. Any other questions, any other technical questions or curiosities about the Azulle Access Plus? Azulle's been very patient in waiting for me to cover this product. They also make the remote, and of course they make the Byte Plus, which is very similar looking to the Intel Nook, very different than the Intel Nook. Not as much, nowhere near as much power, nowhere near as much upgradability, but more upgradable than this. And again, for an HTPC or basic web surfing tasks, very inexpensive. You know, just over $100 gets you a full working computer with a full version of Windows 10 Home. The amazing time we live in today. Does it get hot? The unit will get hot. There's a sticker on the back that warns you that the unit may get hot through heavy usage. That's normal. It has no fan in it. It's just heat sinks, and it's designed for the heat. So the fact that it gets hot is nothing to be concerned about. I mean, right now it's not hot at all. This is slightly warmer. Well, the countertop's a little cold. My TV is hotter than this. So, although it's been sitting idle, so it's not really got any heat to generate. I think I can reboot this now. That the cleaning had to be done by now, right? Yeah. This is just finishing the cleaning here. Turn the mouse back on. Come on, mouse. There we go. Let's click. Okay. I keep hitting the wrong button. I keep wanting to hit the microphone button. There we go. It does help when you hit the right buttons. And again, over time, when you become more familiar with the remote control, this will be more second nature than it is to me now. And let's go ahead and do a restart. And then when it comes back up, you'll probably see like it's some Windows update thing. That's part of the hard disk cleaning. It can't clean all the files while Windows is in use. It's like trying to change a tire, like trying to change a flat tire on a car that's moving. You need to pull the car over and stop it, then you can change the tire. Well, some Windows files can't be deleted until Windows is stopped. So when you reboot, it'll come up with a screen. Typically, it'll come up with a screen saying that it's finishing the system cleanup or something that you typically see in a Windows update, and that's just finishing the hard drive cleanup. So if you want to run that on your own PC, be sure to restart the computer to complete the cleanup that you started. Is it doing it now? Let me see what it says. We get the welcome. Well, apparently it didn't need to do that on this one, but it is, just to put that out there, that is normal. If you see that, it wasn't that some update installed while you were cleaning. All right, I think that's going to wrap up this video. Again, I don't know of anybody else that does a live review. If you guys have seen other live reviews, please post a link so I can see it, because I'm always trying to do something different, or certainly less common than what you see other people do. I'm always trying to maintain a level of honesty that's unquestionable. Anybody can say, oh, I'm being honest. Maybe they are and maybe they're not. I think by going live and being unscripted, there's a certain level of authenticity and a certain amount of being genuine that gets portrayed through the camera that doesn't happen through something highly polished and edited. So for that reason, and because I don't want to do the editing, it's a little easier for me, and I can get through work a little faster. And let me know what you think. Would you like to see more live reviews or more polished reviews? And if you have any other questions, if you're catching this video obviously after it's been live and you have questions about the device, go ahead and leave those in the comments section. And of course, be sure and check out azulletech.com for more information that may be answering your question, as well as looking at other YouTube reviews, and read the Amazon reviews and see what people have to say. Remember, somebody who buys this with the intention of using it to play Minecraft is probably going to be upset and could leave a negative review. So remember that having the right mindset of what your expectations are on a $100 device should fall in line with being reasonable, and adjust your review accordingly. So with that said, I think it's a great value. Like I said, that's basically the price of Windows 10 with a free computer. I mean, as long as the thing boots up and works, it's a deal. So for the purpose of an HTPC, I think it's great. If you want to go 4K, I don't know. I don't have a 4K TV. I don't have any 4K content. So it doesn't match any need that I have. So there's no way for me to test that. I know it's going to run all my 1080 stuff fine. It's going to stream it fine, either over wireless or wired or through a USB stick. And then if I wanted to do other things like video editing and such, I would have a desktop designed for that. And having an $8,000 video editing rig running as an HTPC would be ridiculous. It would be loud. It would be difficult to control with a full-size keyboard and mouse. Although I suppose you could still use something like this on it. It'd be way overkill for that job. So anyway, hope you found the video informative and useful, and at least knowing stuff like this exists and what to expect from it, if nothing else. So thanks for watching. I will see you all again very soon. Until then, bye for now.